All right, so for solving steps to solve multi-step equations with variables on one side, first thing you're going to do is you're going to simplify each side of the equation of the equal sign. So if you need to distribute, you distribute. If you need to gather like terms, you gather like terms. The next thing we're going to do is, so once everything's simplified on the left and right side of the equation, equal sign, then we are going to it's called isolating the variable. You are going to gather, I would say gather like terms. Across the equal sign. And this is going to be actually isolate the variable. So you're going to get the variable, the term with the variable by itself. And lastly, isolate the variable term, my bad, term. That's kind of what I was getting to, and I just missed the term. And now we're going to isolate, get the variable by itself. The variable, remember, that is your letter. So you're actually going to have to move the coefficient. Or if it's a division, you got to move the divided by. So let's work out number one here. So we have, look at your equal sign. So we're going to go left side of the equal sign. What are like terms? 9x minus 7x is 2x. Other like terms, positive 1 minus 5 is a negative 4, so minus 4 equals, and the right side of the equal sign is already simplified, negative 20. At this point, number one is done. Simplify each side. Gather like terms across the equal sign. Look for your like terms now across the equal sign. We have negative 4 and negative 20. Those are your constant terms. Those are your like terms. So you're going to do the opposite. You're going to move everything away from the variable is your goal here. So we gather like terms across the equal sign. Do the anytime you're going across the equal sign, moving from one side of the equal sign to the next, you are going to do opposite operations. So if it's a negative 4, you're going to add 4, because negative 4 plus 4 is 0. And then negative 20 plus 4 is negative 16. And the only thing that's left, that 2x will come down. And now the last thing is isolating the variable. That means you got to get the variable by itself. So it's 2 times x, so we divide by 2, divide by 2. You get x to equal, so 2 divided by 2 is actually 1. And 1 times x is x, so we just write x. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. There's your final answer. Number 2, so we're simplifying each side of the equal sign. The left side, nothing's to be simplified. The right side, we have the parentheses we have to distribute. So negative 7 times 3a is a negative 21a. Negative 7 times a negative 1 is a positive 7. And the left side is just 91. So once it's distributed, I look to see, do we have any like terms on the same side of the equal sign? Negative 21a and 7, no, that is a constant term and a term with a variable, so no like terms there. But we do now have, so now we're moving on to number 2, gather like terms across the equal sign. Like terms, we have a positive 7 and 91. Those are both constants, those are numbers, we can get those together. They do not have variables on them, so let's move them. Opposite operation, 7 minus 7 is 0. The negative 21a will come down. And 91 minus 7 is 84. And now the last thing is isolate the variable. So we have negative 21 times a. Opposite operation of multiplication or times is divide. You divide by negative 21, divide by negative 21. You get a equals 84 divided by negative 21. 84 divided by 21 is 4. And one of the divisions is, the constants are negative, so it's a negative. All right, moving on to number 3. All right, we got some complicated problem here. So we have subtraction on the outside. We have a multiplication on the outside. You always have to do the multiplication first. So let's do that. We have a -5, bring the negative with, times -3. So the 4m comes down. And then -5 times 3m is a -15. Multiply the coefficients, -15m. -5 times a +10 is a -50. So either a plus a -50 or a -50. Either one is okay. And that equals 126 is simplified already. Okay, at this point, now let's gather some like terms. I see some like terms here on the same side of the equal sign. So we have 4m minus 15m. Those are like terms. So we have 4m's and we subtract 15 of them. We have a -11m's left. That -50 minus 50 is coming down, minus 126. No more like terms on the same side of the equal sign, but we do have like terms on the opposite sides of the equal sign. So we're going to gather those like terms across the equal sign. So a -50, you're going to add 50 and add 50. Those are your like terms. -50 plus 50 is 0. -11m comes down. 126 plus 50 is 176. And then we have to, that's multiplication. Opposite operation is division. Divide by -11. We gotta work this out. 176 divided by -11. 176 divided by -11. 176 divided by 11. Having some troubles. 176 divided by 11. 16. So that'll be a -16. Cool. Number 4. All right, I see equal sign, left side, we have to simplify that, so we're going to have to do a lot of distributing. -3 has got to distribute in. So -3 times k is -3k. -3 times a -8 is a +24. And then we also have to distribute this -1, or just a negative. -1 times k is a -1k, or just -k. -1 times a +5 is a -5. That's going to equal 23. Gather your like terms on the same side of the equal sign. So we have -3k minus 1 more k is a -4k. 24 minus 5 is 19. Now we have like terms all simplified on the same side of the equal sign. Now we're going to look at opposite sides. We sure do. We have the 19 we're going to subtract. You have a -4k is going to come down. We didn't do anything with that. 19 minus 19 is 0. 23 minus 19 is 4. Then you're looking at -4k equals 4. That's multiplication. You're going to divide the opposite operation. Is division. You're going to divide by -4. -4 divided by -4 is 1. 1 times k is k. 4 divided by -4 is -1. Number 5. I'm seeing we have to simplify the -6, distribute that. First, before this, let's bring everything down. 20 equals 10x. And then let's distribute. -6 times 2x is a -12x, or a -12x. -6 times a +5 is a -30. Gather your like terms on both sides of the equal sign. The right side, we have 10x's, and you're subtracting 12x's. That's a -2x. And then -30 is going to come down. Like terms on both sides of the equal sign. Looks like we have a -30 and 20. Those are your constant terms. We do the opposite, move everything away from the variable. So adding 30. -30 plus 30 is 0. -2x is going to come down. 20 plus 30 is 50. And then we have multiplication, so divide by -2. X is going to equal -25. And another problem here. Number 6, we have 8 times 2w. Let's simplify that. 16w. 8 times a negative 1 is a negative 8. And minus 4w comes down, equals negative 116. Get your like terms together. 16w and negative 4w is 12w minus 8. Those are your like terms. Across the equal sign now, there's like terms, a negative 8 and negative 116. We're going to move the negative 8 away from the side of the equal sign with the variable. So we're going to, opposite operation is plus 8. 12w is going to come down. Negative 108. Divide by 12, divide by 12. W equals negative 108 divided by 12 is negative 9. All right, so there's 1 through 6. 7, it's very similar stuff. We have the negative 11h minus, and we're going to subtract the quantity of 2h minus 1. So what you're doing is you're really going to distribute this negative 1. So we have 11h comes down. Negative 1 times 2h is a negative 2h. Negative 1 times a negative 1 is an actual positive 1. Equals 118. Gather your like terms. 11h minus 2h on the side of the equal sign. So 11 minus 2 is 9h's left, plus 1 equals 118. Gather your like terms on both sides of the equal sign. We have constant terms, so minus 1 subtract 1, because that's a positive 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 9h is going to come down. 118 minus 1 is 117. You have a multiplication, 9 times h, so the opposite operation is division. So you're going to divide both sides of the equal sign by 9, and 117 divided by 9 is 13. So h is going to equal 13. All right, number 8. Don't be afraid of fractions. We can do these. We have the negative 25 will come down, equals. We have to distribute the 1/2 times 10. Half of 10, you can either think of that in your head, or you're going to do multiply the numerators. 1 times 10 is 10. Multiply the denominators. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 1/2 times a negative 2 over 1. Multiply your numerators. Negative 2. And multiply your denominators. 1 times 2 is 2. And then the plus 3 x will come down. We want to simplify each one of those fractions. See if we can simplify them. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Sweet. Fractions are gone. Now gather your like terms on both sides of the equal sign. I'm just going to copy down the negative 25. 5x's, and you're adding 3 more x's, is 8x minus 1. You have like terms on both sides of the equal sign. Your constants. Do the opposite operation. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0 to move it. Negative 25 plus 1 is negative 24. Opposite operation of multiplication is division. X is going to equal negative 3. And next one. We have, another fraction. We got this. 7, negative 5 over 2 times 8 is, multiply your numerators. 8 times 5 is 40. So negative 40 over 2 times 1 is 2. R. Then bring the subtraction, negative 5 times 6, or you can bring the as a negative if you wanted to. That would be negative 30 over 2 times 1, the denominators is 2. And plus 2r equals 32. Simplify the fractions. 40 divided by 2 is 20. Minus a negative is going to be a plus, so there's going to be a plus here. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Gather your like terms. Let me just highlight these. We have 7 plus 15 is 22. Negative 20r plus 2r is a negative 18r. And we have no longer like terms on each separate side of the equal sign, but on opposite sides we sure do. We have the 22 and 32 are constant terms, so 22 is positive. Always move away from the side of the equal sign that has the variable. We're trying to isolate it. Isolating the variable, it's called. Don't forget about the negative on the 18R. That will come down. Negative 18R equals 32 minus 22 is 10. We're going to divide negative 18 times R, so the opposite operation is divide. We get R equals, and I'm going to bring the negative out, 10 over 18. And we can reduce that down, divide by 2 to reduce it down to negative 5 over 9. All right, challenge. I will leave that one for class.